We are here inside of the Wake Up Call studios. You see Cafe Kubal right over my shoulder here with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Of course, I'm your host, Dan Tortora, and I'm happy to be here with you as always. I thank you so much for being a part of the show every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We typically, pretty much at all times lately, we go well over, and a lot of the time in general, we go well over the 2 hours that we promise you, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, where if you go back to the shows, well over 2 hours. The show that we did here on September 11th, and, obviously to everybody out there, we send you our love and our prayers and our well wishes, and to everyone affected, and really to just appreciate the life that you have. We extended the show and did a 4-hour show here on September 11th of 2020, and over a 4-hour show, so more than double what we promised you here on Wake Up Call, which is great for all of the partners that we have here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, which include Cafe Kubal, Wildcat Sports Pub, Carvel DeWitt, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Honda City of Liverpool, Avicoli's, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Trapper's Pizza Pub, Borio's Restaurant, the Millhouse Market, and of course our beverages of choice that you can see over my shoulder here. These beverages being the Body Armor as well as Coca-Cola. So we thank you so much for being a part of it, and thank you for being here and hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. So Mike and I are going to be giving you our NFL predictions, and we'll be having some fun with that and going through and telling you who we think is going to essentially make it to the playoffs. And if you've listened and watched our shows on each division, we broke down the entire NFL by division, which was awesome. Being able to do that in a very unique way for the first time ever, and to be able to bring you that, to break down the NFC North, South, East, and West, as well as the AFC North, South, East, and West. And to do that is to have 4 teams at a time, little pockets, to take that 32 teams and turn it into, pockets of 4, really allowed us the opportunity to expand and give you our thoughts on all these teams in a really big way, and to make it easier to digest instead of throwing all 32 at you at the same time. So make sure you go back and watch those videos on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, the divisional videos for the 2020-2021 season. Mike and I go division by division and tell you everybody that we think is going to, what they're going to do, their analysis of the team itself, predictions for their season and their schedule, as well as fantasy football value of each of those teams. So I definitely appreciate it, and thank you so much for being here and being a part of this. So I want to thank you for being here inside of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And like I said, we have run a Jerry Lewis type of telethon this time around, and now we're doing even more to have this video outside of the 4+ hours we spent in the studio here on September 11th. We did the show from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., so we did your little morning drive with you, go get a cup of coffee or a tea at Cafe Kubal. Then we joined you throughout your lunch, and then after your lunch when you were back to work. So absolutely insane and really cool to be a part of all of this, and to be able to bring you a 4+ hour show. And now just deciding to bring you even more and do another piece here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to give you our NFL predictions, as we're looking to bring on Mike Sofka of Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com, and Mike providing for you free as well as paid opportunities to do well in your fantasy leagues. And we definitely are looking forward to that opportunity of having you do it and be a part of it. So we would love you to go to Hall of Fame Fantasy Football.com and utilize the services that you have there, as Mike and I help you every Wednesday during the Fantasy Football Power Hour, the Fantasy Football, not a and not one of, but the Fantasy Football Power Hour. Happy to be there with you inside of that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora episode every Wednesday, I should say, time. So we appreciate that. Mike is joining us currently. Right now, we're going to bring Mike in. There's Mr. Sofka. Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing? I'm sideways. Hold on a second here.
Oh no, you're not. You're good. You're good on our end.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's good. So Mike is hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Mike, you and I just did our fantasy draft analysis, giving everybody a draft grade in the three Central New York leagues, the Florida League and the Marywood Alumni League. Now it's time for us to shift to the reality side of it and essentially grade the teams out, so to speak, as we're going to pick who we think is going to make it to the playoffs. Now, it's unique in the NFL this year because there's an extra spot to gain. So it's not 6 on one and 6 on the other. It's 7 and 7. So we have in essentially the only team that gets a break is the top seed in the AFC and the top seed in the NFC. They get a bye. The number 2 seed does not get a bye anymore. They have to play. And so as far as the divisional winners, that's the same. It's each division: AFC North, South, East, and West, NFC North, South, East, and West. Winner makes the playoffs, and then based on head-to-head and record and all that, we figure out the seeding. But there's two wild card, or pardon me, wild card wise on three. There's 3 wild cards, so there's almost as many wild cards as there are teams that win a division now. Before we get into it, what do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think it's a new look. I think it's something to refresh things, and I think it's something to truly reward the number 1 seed. I think that's great. I like it.
Yeah, and to have 4 teams that essentially get in by winning their division, and then 3 teams that get in by a wild card makes it very interesting. And I would imagine if they're going to almost do another wild card and just call it 8 and 8 and have even numbers and just do it that way and have the wild card teams beat up on each other. I don't know, but essentially we're going to go to the AFC and then go to the NFC. We did the North, South, East, and West, and everybody can check out those videos by going to youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. They're also shared on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT and Twitter at Call DT. Watch those videos; they are free. And Mike and I spend a lot of time because we're doing 4 teams at a time instead of all 32. We got to spend at least an hour, usually more than an hour, breaking down these teams. Which is, if you're spending an hour doing that, that means we're giving so much time to these teams, at least 15 minutes per team, which is really extended coverage you're not going to find anywhere else. Mike, let's start in the AFC North. Who do you think is going to win that division?
Wow, you can't go against Baltimore. I think Baltimore is a team that, they could win it all. They could run the table. You look at the competition. You got Cincinnati with a rookie quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who's been underperforming with a lot of talent around him, both offensive and defensively, but he's gone through multiple offensive coordinators and multiple coaches. And then you got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're perennial favorites every year. They and Baltimore beat up on each other. Those two teams hate each other. If you ask a fan from one team or the other who they want to beat this year, it's the other team, Steelers or Ravens. That's what it is. So it's going to come down to Steelers and Ravens, and I think it's going to be the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Ravens to win the division as well. And like I said, you can get plenty more divisional content from us by going to youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT and finding all of this there. But I'm going to pick the Ravens to win as our predictions here for the 2020-2021 NFL playoffs in the AFC North. Mike and I both going with the Ravens. Mike, what about the AFC South?
Yeah, that's a little bit more challenging. These teams in the AFC South look a little bit abysmal when you look at it on paper and you're like, really? This is what we got? Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Houston. Where's the pizzazz? Where's the zing? And you got to look at a team like Tennessee. Tennessee's capable of winning and going very far in the playoffs. We saw that last year. With that being said, Philip Rivers has the new team he's on with the Colts, and they look like a dangerous team. Houston, well, they got problems. They got problems with offensive line. They got problems because I haven't seen a deep threat, but they played against a good team last night. Don't forget, there's no preseason. There's no extended camp. So these guys are in, territory that hasn't been seen in a long. I don't think it's ever been in the NFL where they didn't have a preseason. So you would have to look at the Titans or the Colts, I think, and I'm going to give the edge to the Titans simply because they've been there last year. They had an opportunity to do well and get a little further than people thought. So I think the Titans are the team to watch out for in the AFC South.
Yeah, Mike, I'm going to agree with you on that one. I got the Titans winning the AFC South. I think the Colts are going to make it interesting. I don't think the Texans are going to be up there. I think it's going to be Jacksonville last, third the Texans, and then I think the Colts and the Titans are going to fight for first. I think the Titans are going to get it. So I would give that to them. What about the AFC East? Who are you predicting?
Yeah, usually it's the same old, same old. Usually it's that team everybody loves to hate. Usually it's the Patriots. But, I'm going to go a different direction this year. I think it could be Buffalo's year. Buffalo looks like a team that's on the rise. Buffalo looks like a team that's got an offense and a defense. Buffalo looks like a team that, well, quite frankly, could go far in the playoffs again. I like the young quarterback and Josh Allen. He can run the ball as well as throw the ball. I like the defense. I like bringing in Stephon Diggs. They have a genuine deep threat there now. I think Buffalo could do some damage. I like Buffalo a lot.
Yeah, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills as well, and equally out there. What about the final one, the AFC West? I mean, this is an easy one, but I'm asking it. So,
Yeah, you have to go with the Chiefs. I mean, anytime the Chiefs are in a conversation, this could be the building of a dynasty. This could be the beginning of another Patriot type run, another Cowboys type run, where you're looking at the Chiefs in the Super Bowl or next to the Super Bowl year after year after year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win a whole handful like Brady.
yeah, so I'm going to go with the Chiefs as well. Divisionally, to look at this as we're predicting the 2020-2021 NFL playoffs, Mike, we picked our divisional winners, and they're the same. We picked out of the north of the AFC, we picked the Ravens. Out of the south, we picked the Titans. Out of the east, we picked the Bills. In the west, we picked the Chiefs. What's the order that you think it'll be?
Well, it's obviously the Chiefs are first and the Ravens are second. That could flip flop somehow, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be the Chiefs. I think it's going to be the Ravens. I think it's going to be the Titans, and I think it's going to be the Bills.
All right, so Mike is going Chiefs, Ravens, Titans, Bills. I'm going Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Titans. I'm giving the Bills the third, and Mike is flip flopping those. Who makes the wild cards 5, 6, and 7 out of the AFC?
Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, Pittsburgh and the Ravens beat up on each other, and they're usually the pride of the North. So I'm going to have to give out one to Pittsburgh. And then I look at the South, and I'm like, well, I picked Tennessee, but I said they could flip flop with the Colts, so I'm going to go with the Colts. And you can't go against Belichick. I know there's no more Brady. I know he had the league high in players opting out due to COVID, and I know they have their challenges there at quarterback, bringing Cam in with some question marks and no real preseason. So I know they got question marks, but you can't go against Bill Belichick. I'm going to take the Patriots there.
Yeah, I think my wild cards, I'm going to agree with you on the Steelers. I do think they'll have a bounce back. Last year they had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph throwing the ball because Ben Roethlisberger was injured. He's back now. If he stays healthy, you would anticipate they're going to make the playoffs. I'm right with you with the Colts. I think it's going to be very, very close between them and the Titans to win the AFC South. So that would put them in the wild card. And then, I think the Chargers don't sleep on them. I think Justin Herbert might be the last rookie quarterback we see of those names on the top, because I think Tyrod Taylor is going to do a good job. But, I think when push comes to shove, looking at all of this, I can't pick another team from the South or the North. I think that the West could interest me with the Broncos, but Cam Newton and the Patriots, how do you go against Bill Belichick? So, Mike, give me your order. Will you have the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Titans, the Bills, 1 through 4, as far as our predictions for the seeding of the AFC? I have, I have the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills, the Titans. So we have a little bit different there from 3 to 4. You're 5, 6, and 7. You and I have both chosen the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Colts. Where do you put them?
So you're asking me for the 5, 6, 7 marks?
Yeah, 5, 6, 7. Where do you put the Colts, the Steelers, and the Patriots?
I'm going to have to go with the Steelers up there at the 5, and I'm going to have to go with the Colts as the 6 and the Patriots with the 7. I think the Patriots are going to squeak their way in there. Somehow, some way, Belichick gets it done.
Yeah, so very interesting that Mike is doing this. Mike and I have put ourselves in the situation where we have picked all the same 7 teams to make the playoffs out of the AFC. And Mike and I did not have a prior conversation about this. We talked about divisions, but we did not talk about this, nor did we talk about seeding or anything. So interestingly enough, we have the same 7 teams and almost the exact top 7 I have Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Titans, Steelers, Colts, Patriots 1 through 7. Mike has Chiefs, Ravens, Titans, Bills, Steelers, Colts, Patriots. So the only difference is 3 to 4, but we have the same divisional winners and we have the same wild cards, and our wild cards 5, 6, and 7 are the same. Mike, the Chiefs will have that first game off. What do you see happening in the AFC? Who comes out of this thing?
Yeah, how can you not like the Chiefs and the Ravens? I think it's going to come down to one of those two teams. And I think we're underselling Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson has a taste of what Patrick Mahomes has, and I think he got so close to that. They bowed out way early in the playoffs last year, but at the same time, I like what Baltimore has: defensive, running game, receiver-wise, and quarterback. They're the top rushing team and one of the top offensive lines in the league. It's hard to go against that. So I would say it's going to come down to KC and Baltimore. If I had to make a pick, I would have to take KC there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I told you, and I've said it plenty of times on the show, if I could have a choice, I would make the Chiefs Ravens be a Super Bowl, but it can't happen because they're on the same side. So I think coming out of the AFC, it will be the Chiefs and the Ravens fighting for the AFC Championship game. I'm going to give a slight edge to the Chiefs, and because I think that the rich got richer, the Super Bowl team got better with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But if it's Baltimore, I won't be surprised. Heading to the NFC, Mike, let's go to the North first. Who's going to win that division?
Yeah, anytime you talk about the North, you're talking about Green Bay, you're talking about the Vikings. Those are the primary teams that, usually are up there week in, week out. They're the teams that you can say, hey, one of these guys is going to win the division. And it always comes down to it. It always seems that way. So, I would have to go with Green Bay or Minnesota. It's almost a coin flip. It's hard to choose. But if I had to choose, I would choose Minnesota simply because of the questions at receiver for the Packers. You wonder, is Aaron Rodgers eroding a little bit? Is that why they took Jordan Love? Some questions. Minnesota, they have questions maybe at running back, but I think Dalvin Cook can stay healthy in this contract year, so I think that's a good thing. I think I'm going to have to lean toward Minnesota, but again, they're close with Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Packers in this one. I think the Packers, obviously, I was a lot bit surprised they didn't draft a wide receiver, and very surprised they drafted Jordan Love to be the backup to Aaron Rodgers at this point in Aaron Rodgers' career. But I will tell you, I think the Packers are going to get it done. I like A.J. Dillon. I like what they're bringing forward. Minnesota's got questions for me, and when they had Stephon Diggs, I still had questions. Now they don't. So I'm going to pick the Packers to win the North. What about the NFC South? Who are you predicting?
I would hate to go against Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the guy. He's the man. He has weapons now that he's never had. He's the big-eyed kid in the candy store because he's got all these weapons around him, all this stuff that he can grab. Yet I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think it's going to be enough to get past the Saints. How can I go past the Saints? You got Drew Brees. You got Alvin Kamara. You got Sean Payton. Just about every home game they're going to win. I know they don't play as well on the road. I know Brees doesn't, but that's not going to be a problem for them. They're going to collect enough wins to win the South.
Yeah, I'm going to put the Saints in here as well to win the South. I just feel like they're going to get it done. I know a lot of people are buying into the Bucs. Basically, wherever Brady goes, if he went to a well that didn't have water in it for 15 years, people would think the water's going to be in the well when they go to see it. So I would definitely tell you that I hope there's enough gunpowder in Tampa Bay because they haven't had to fire off that cannon much. And maybe they had a rule that we only fire off the cannon for touchdowns, but then they started doing it for field goals because there were no touchdowns. So it'll be interesting to see, but I'm going to pick the Saints in this one. What about the East for you, Mike, in the NFC?
Yeah, this is a tough one, but it's really not so tough. I say it's tough because the NFC East always plays tough against each other, whether it's the Redskins, whether it's the Eagles, whether it's the Giants. But the class of the NFC East is the Cowboys. The Cowboys are the perennial favorite here simply because look at their roster. It's like the New York Yankees in baseball. They got up and down. They're great. They got great receivers. The coach McCarthy says that he has 3 number 1 receivers in Cooper and Gallup and Lamb. I like
Yeah.
Blake Jarwin as a dark horse guy in fantasy this year. And how can you go against Zeke? Zeke is the man. He's one of the top running backs the past several years. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He can make things happen. The Cowboys win games when he goes over 100 yards. So they're going to continue to feed Zeke. That's going to open things up. I like Dallas to win the East.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Dallas too. I originally had thought Philadelphia, but I'm going to give Dallas a one-game lead on that. I'm going to give them winning that by a hair. For I kind of just said it, but the NFC West, who do you have for this one?
Yeah, the NFC West, you got to go with a team like San Fran. And the reason I go with a team like San Fran is simple. They've been there. They can do it. They know what it takes. But it's not an easy division. You got the Rams, who could step up and bite you. You got the Cardinals, who Kyler Murray I like a lot. It's going to have an MVP type season. And you got the Seahawks with a great coach in Pete Carroll, and they're consistently up there. They got an excellent running attack. They got an excellent quarterback. They got an excellent defense. It could come down to Seattle and San Fran at the end. I think San Fran's going to have enough to edge out Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to San Fran as well, although I think this division, and we talked about it in our NFC West analysis, they went from worst to first, arguably, as far as the talent. We think all these teams can go 8-8, 9-7, or 10-6. So I'm going to give a slight edge to San Fran, but I'm really high on Seattle this year. What's the order for the divisional winners in the NFC?
Yeah,
1-4.
This is going to shock some people, maybe not. I got Dallas as the number one. I think Dallas can run through that East with the talent they have on that roster, barring any injuries. So I think it's going to be Dallas. I think it's going to be the Saints. I think it's going to be San Fran, then Green Bay. Or Minnesota. I said Minnesota. Minnesota, not Green Bay.
Yeah. I think it's really funny what you did because this is tough. I think, choosing these, the toughest one for me was Packers Vikings and maybe, Seattle San Fran, but choosing the 1-4 for the divisional winners, this was even more difficult because I thought put Cowboys first, but I was like, God, they haven't been there in forever and a day since the 90s. So for me, I'm like, can I put the Cowboys first? I put the Niners first. I flip-flopped with you. I put Niners 1, Saints 2, Cowboys 3, and then the winner of the NFC North, which I think is going to be the Packers. You have the Vikings. So we have the same 2 and 4 essentially as far as division goes, and then we flip-flopped 1 and 3. Who is going to make it 5-7? Give me your wild card teams out of the NFC.
Yeah, I would think the Bucks. I would think the Bucks are going to be fighting the Saints to get in there. So I can't go against Tom Brady. He's going to be in the playoffs, and from the wild card spot, they could make a difference. They could spoil somebody's day. So I have them as the 5. I'll go with Seattle as the 6, and I'll go with Minnesota as the 7. Again, I like Minnesota. It was almost a coin flip for me with the Packers. And Seattle, same way. I mean, the West is just tough, so I think Seattle's the 7.
So you picked the Vikings to win it. So give me your 5, 6, and 7 again because you have the Vikings at 4. So who are you putting 5, 6, and 7?
I'm putting the Bucks. I'm putting Green Bay. Then I'm putting the Seahawks.
Okay, fair enough. I think that this is tough. I think there's a lot of talent all throughout. But I think the AFC has the more clear-cut, Ravens, Chiefs kind of look at things. I think when we look on the NFC side, there's going to be a lot of teams that we think maybe should have made it that don't. But I'm going to tell you, as far as my wild card goes, I agree with you on the Bucks. I agree with you on the Seahawks. I think that they're both going to make it into the playoffs. It's kind of interesting. The NFC West arguably could send 3 teams. They could send the Rams or they could send the Cardinals. I think, the Philadelphia Eagles could try to squeak into this thing. I think, Chicago defensively, but they don't have enough going on offensively right now. I look at Carolina as another sneaky one come out of the NFC South. But if I had to choose right now, feet to the fire, it's between, honestly, Philadelphia and Arizona on who I would put in that final spot. So mine is going to be Mike put the Bucks, the Packers, the Seahawks. I'm going to put the Bucks at 5 in the first wild card spot in the NFC. I'm going to put the Seahawks at 6. And an interesting move for me here, I'm going to put the Cardinals at 7. I think the Cardinals are going to do some good things this year with the addition of DeAndre Hopkins and Kenyon Drake and all that. So, again, from worst to first, the NFC West, in my opinion, sending 3 of 4, 75% of their division to the NFL playoffs with this newly added 7th spot. So, once again, in the AFC, Mike's predictions, Chiefs, Ravens, Titans, Bills, Steelers, Colts, Patriots. Mine, Chiefs, Ravens, Bills, Titans, Steelers, Colts, Patriots. Almost all completely the same there. And then in the NFC, Mike has the Vikings winning the North. I have the Packers. And then we have the Saints of the South, the Cowboys, the East, the Niners of the West. I have Niners, Saints, Cowboys, Packers, Bucks, Seahawks, Cardinals. Mike has Cowboys, Saints, Niners, Vikings, Bucks, Packers, Seahawks. Mike, who are the two teams that go to the? I mean, this is kind of crazy this year for the NFC. I think this is literally anybody could beat anybody once we get in the playoffs. Who's going to make it to the NFC Championship game?
Yeah, I got to go with the Saints and the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are the best team out there. It could come down to home field with who wins that game between the Saints and the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys are going to get that number one spot, that advantage. They're going to have home field. And, anything can happen. Now, home field isn't as big as an advantage now with the decreases in stadium volume as far as people. They're going to have like 20%, 15, 17,000 people at games, but they're pumping in music, not just on the TV, music and sound effects and crowd noise, interactive and specific for that stadium. The NFL has sent this specific soundtrack to each team for their own stadium, and they can use that and only that. They can't pump it up higher than what the average decibels normally are. So when you have a Seattle or Kansas City, that decibel thing's got to stay within that. They can't just crank it up, because otherwise the coaches, even though they're doing this with their play sheets, you're going to hear them with all the ambient microphones around the field. So I would think that they're going to pump that up a little bit, that volume. Home field is still going to be a little bit of an advantage because you have travel, and that's hectic right now. So I would have to say it's going to come down to the Cowboys and the Saints. And if you ask me to pick a winner, I would have to go with the Cowboys.
Yeah, very interesting here, Mike. And even when we're a little bit different, we're still pretty much the same. And so I'm going to say, and kind of interesting here too, the Saints and the Bucks being in the playoffs together. We could see Tom Brady and Drew Brees play each other 3 times this season, but I am going to, and that could be a dangerous game. You said Saints Cowboys. I'm going to say Niners Cowboys. Bring us back to the mid to late 90s. When Charles Haley was on both teams and all that good stuff. So I'm going to say, and I think Ted Norton Jr. as well. So I'm going to say Niners Cowboys to give us a taste back to that time. So we have Chiefs Ravens on one side. We agreed. We both picked the Chiefs. And then I have Niners Cowboys. You have Saints Cowboys. But I'm also going to pick the Cowboys. I said it. Vegas takes money from you every single year saying the Cowboys are going to make it. But this is the year where I think they can actually viably do it. Cowboys, Chiefs, we have this same Super Bowl, Mike. And once again, I want to preface that Mike and I knew nothing of each other's picks before now. Cowboys, Chiefs, what's going to happen?
Yeah, this is going to be a great game because I think the Cowboys defense can handle what's going on in Kansas City. But I don't think they can handle it well enough. I think Kansas City is just too powerful. I think Dallas is trying to get to where Kansas City is with their new weapons and with what they have on offense. I think there could be a potential shootout in the Super Bowl, which is great. You want to play the over. You want a lot of points. Chick stick the long ball. You want touchdowns. You want to see that points up over 50. I think it could be a close game, high points game. I would have to lean toward the Chiefs because they've been there, done that, and they have the parts in place. Dallas has some of the parts in place. They look good on paper. They just haven't done it yet.
Cowboys, Chiefs, Super Bowl. If you told me a few years ago, I would have never said it. What's your score for the game?
I'd have to go at least 52 points. So, what would that be, like a 28-24 game, something like that? I would think that would be a minimum score. It would be over 50 points, though.
Okay, so Mike's going 28-24 Chiefs. We both have the same Super Bowl, Cowboys and Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Chiefs as well, and I am going to say tough. This is tough. Let me think. I'm going to say 35-31 Chiefs. I almost picked the Cowboys. I'm going to say 35-31 Chiefs in this game. a little bit higher scoring than Mike has. Mike has 52 points. I have 66. So I'm going to say that. So once
Take
again,
the over. Take the over in the game. Calling it now.
So so that coming from Mike and I, giving you our predictions. Mike, as always, thank you so much. Awesome to give our predictions for the NFL playoffs this year. I'm just happy that football's back, and I'll look forward to talking with you soon.
Sounds good, Dan. Thanks.
Take care. Find us on Winning Fantasy Football and on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as halloffamefantasyfootball.com. And every Wednesday, inside of Wake Up Call in the Fantasy Football Power Hour, brought to you by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Wednesdays, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt, and on facebook.com/livenowdt. Until next time, back to the Tortora Marathon Telethon, and I think I spent 5+ hours with you all today. I'll talk with you all soon. God bless and be well.